Last week we had the return of the Premier League, and it was headlines galore everywhere. A lot of the results went the way a lot of people thought, but not every one of them. And there was some surprises on the day. We have another edition of Friday Night Football coming in this week. We've got a London derby. We have got Chelsea at home to West Ham, and we've got the projected teams locked and loaded already for it. I'll make it a bit easier to see for everyone. So Chelsea are projected to go with, this is in the back four: Chalobah, Akampong, Kukurea and James. Obviously Sanchez and goals. Enzo and Caicedo in the engine room. Neto, Bino, Gittins out wide, with Pedro and Palmer leading the charge in attack. With West Ham expected to have the same team essentially that started last week, but no Guido Rodriguez. It looks like it'll be Big Tam, Big Souček in midfield for them. And this is a game, there's a few interesting stats going around it. I think this is going to be a big one for Chelsea. Chelsea generally in these London derbies do pretty well. I think I'm right in saying their first 5 matches or 4 matches of this season are all against London clubs, so I don't think they're really doing much travel or anything like that. But Chelsea have won just 2 of their last 11 away league matches this season, so it doesn't kind of bode well on the old away trip. And João Pedro has faced no opponents in his career without ever scoring more than he has against West Ham. So João Pedro has played against West Ham 6 times and not scored. So there's a funny wee crease into it.
You made me not want to play my João Pedro now, Quinny. To be honest,
it's a funny one. The back 3 for West Ham. I watched West Ham last week. Who did they play? Sunderland. The back 3 were all actually really good. I thought individually defended very well, but West Ham were just very grey, very meh. And I'm not too sure. Like, this Chelsea team looks really strong, And I know it wasn't quite all of that in a packet of crisps or whatever last week with some of the bits and pieces that were going on around it. But if they get their foot on the ball in a game like this, a West Ham team with, if this kind of 3-4-3, Wan-Bissaka likes to kind of tuck in. He was kind of like a defensive mid at times, big lad that he is. He was really good for scoring purposes last week. Absolutely rinsed it with clearances, tackles, doubles, all that kind of stuff. Didn't really lose possession too much. But you just know the likes of Palmer, Bino, Gittins, Pedro Neto, I think these guys are just going to be way too much for West Ham to handle. They couldn't handle Sunderland. And I think by comparison, you can't really fear too much for Chelsea. But some interesting stats there that maybe point to it not being total one-way traffic.
Yes, it's interesting because, Chelsea having 2 really direct wingers there. If you're playing a 5 at the back, those wing backs have to help out. Like, you don't want Aguerd and Todibo coming into those deep sort of, like, in between the 18-yard box and the touchline. Like, that's not where you want them, really, because they're just not as agile as, Neto and Bino Gittins, right? They're probably going to get kippered. So, and that obviously leaves big gaps then, for, your Enzos to make, sort of third-man runs, Palmer to do his thing, and João Pedro to sort of pin back Hillman. Like, yeah, it's a bit worrying unless Wan-Bissaka, it'll have to be like a really, really, good defensive job here by, Diouf and Wan-Bissaka. But as far as I'm aware, Diouf's not really a, wing back, is he necessarily? Or is he more of like a winger, right?
Mate, he looked like he was playing up front last week,
I watched him play in the summer series, I'm sure, and he just wasn't a defender, put it that way. So, yeah, it's a bit worrying now. I don't know if, that just looks far too attacking for me. Like, if they do go out with that, fair play, shows a bit of balls. But, I just feel like Chelsea will have too much dynamism for them on the wings, and then they've got too much sort of intricacy in the middle for them to just not score goals, in my opinion.
I don't think West Ham looked that good in attack last week, right? But Jared Bowen certainly didn't look bad last week, I would say. Big Fulkrug's up for trying to make a name in the Prem, and Paqueta's obviously got rid of the betting charges or whatever. And this Chelsea defence, I don't see them keeping a clean sheet against many teams, So I don't know. I could see Chelsea maybe winning this 2-1, 3-1 or something like that. But I think the quality in the team will be the difference here, I think, won't it?
Yeah, I think Chelsea just have too much going forward, don't they, to not sort of penetrate. Okay, yeah, they're shaky at the back right now with, not having first choice centre backs and whatever, but yeah, it's still a bit of a no-brainer for me. I think this is a Chelsea win quite comfortably.
Man City are taking on Tottenham. Now, Tottenham obviously changed manager. They've been actually, absolutely mugged off this week with Arsenal signing Eberechi Eze. And they're not getting Savio. They're missing targets left, right and centre. They're not managing to sign anyone. City look like they're going to line up like this. Ait-Nouri continues at left back, Lewis at right back, centre back Stones and Diaz with Trafford and goals. Midfield is going to be Nico Gonzalez, Tijani Reinders, Bernie Silva, and the front three looks like the same. It's Bob, Haaland and Doku. Oscar Bob was very impressive for me last week. I think he played so well. I don't worry about Pep Roulette with him. I think he is kind of nailed on at right wing now, failing any kind of loss of form or the emergence of Cherky or Mamouche or something like that, really kicking it up a level. Sad to not see Cherky start, but it's not really a surprise, is it? But that's the Man City team.
Not really, no. Again, it's quite similar sort of outfit to Chelsea though, in a way, as far as like two really sort of dynamic wingers. Haaland is obviously the João Pedro sort of 9 to pin back the centre halves, and then the 3 in the middle, like Reinders, like he's such a threat in both sort of areas, and obviously more so, attacking wise, we saw last week. Bernie Silva, knows a thing or two about the Premier League, and I watched Bob's highlights, and he just looks so tidy on the ball, and he can just go either way, and there was just so much sort of like, you couldn't really read what was going to happen basically, because he can come inside, he can thread passes through down the line and into Haaland. There's just a lot to his game that's pleasing to sort of watch, and Nouri and Lewis as well. Like, can you get any more attacking right backs and left backs really? So yeah, again, I feel like they just end up suffocating Tottenham. Really, they're just not enough. I don't know. Like, there is legs in that Tottenham team. Don't get me wrong, and they might take a little while to penetrate. But I think eventually, the cream rises to the top as far as like Man City's attackers go, and there's goals in this for City surely.
Yeah, we did see Tottenham start against PSG with like a 5 at the back type thing, so I wouldn't rule out that this is how they kind of maybe look to start the game, just try and escape with Kudus somehow with Richarlison, kind of just playing on whatever side of the pitch the ball's on. And if there's a team you don't want to give the game to, it's probably City, I think, isn't it? Because like you say, Aït-Nouri, Rico Lewis, these guys are more than happy to just go on and overload and then overlap on top of that as well. So yeah, it could be quite one-way traffic. I'll just remove the City team so you can see the Tottenham team a bit clearer, camped on the edge of their box here. But it looks like the back 5, best kind of choice that's available at the moment. Bentancur, Palhinha and Sarr in midfield, with the escape option being Kudus, I reckon, over and with Richarlison over there with him as well. And I did have some stats for this one. Erling Haaland has contributed 5 goals in 6 matches against Tottenham, which is 4 goals and 1 assist, which is pretty good going. And in the head-to-heads, this is a very interesting one. The previous 15 head-to-heads at the Etihad have produced 67 goals. So 15 games at the Etihad, 67 goals, an average of 4.47. Spurs won this game 4-0 last season under Big Ange, obviously. So City have won 1, lost 2 and drawn 1 of the last 4 Tottenham have went there. So that's not too bad hunting for them, I suppose. But different manager, different philosophy. It feels like, it could be a wee Haaland hat-trick weekend, maybe. It could be one of those ones. It could be any, with the amount of goals that have been involved in the game. City are never good for a clean sheet anyway, so I wouldn't rule out Tottenham maybe losing 4-1 in this one.
It always smells like goals, Tottenham City, for some reason to me. Like every game over the years, just always both teams is just whoever ends up, winning it. But you've got a fancy City.
Yeah. And we then get to the 3 o'clock kickoffs. The first one we've got loaded up is going to be Bournemouth versus Wolves. And again, 2 teams that I paid quite a lot of attention to last year. This year, I've got a lot less hope for Bournemouth and, for Wolves. And I feel that Bournemouth will maybe just about get out of any issues they've got because their manager's so well organised. They did a really good job with them before he's made the team better, although the team's just lost. I think it was something like £150 million of defensive talent they sold this summer, with Huijsens, Zabarnier and Kirkez. So
that's insane.
So tight one. This is the Bournemouth team, just so you can see it nice and clear. Ivan Nielsen leading the line. Otherwise, kind of picks itself. New signing Diakite from Lille coming straight in to replace Zabarnier. Truffert did very well against Liverpool for me. I think he could do very well in this game. A wide attacking, a bombastic fullback. Great replacement for Kirkez. Often likened to Tio Hernandez, if anyone's ever watched him play. Just think, like Gareth Bale, Harry Boy, back in the day when he played left back. Arias is coming in to start this one. Big money signing in the summer. Jorgen Strand Larsen is in the papers the last couple of days as well. Might be on his way to Newcastle, you would think. There's a really strong midfield 3 here. I really like all 3 of them individually. I do think Muller, Wolf and Hoover are like good fullbacks, but along with the rest of the defence, it's just subpar, I think, for the Premier League. And Bournemouth is a team that will probably look at that Wolves outfit and think this is a team we should be beating. This is 3 points at home we should be going after. And I think I probably fancy Bournemouth just about edge this one, but Wolves, they do have a striker and stuff like that. I think the goalkeeper's a big difference for Bournemouth also.
Yeah, I think Bournemouth are just a bit too strong everywhere, basically. Like, there's not really a weakness there that I can point towards, to exploit. Diakite's new, okay. Smith's, I don't know. I just don't see much really troubling that Bournemouth back four there. I do rate Strand Larson. He can get a goal from sort of nothing. But is he going to get the service? It just seems like they're set up just to just to bank in and hope for a little counter attack now and again. But and set pieces will be always important. Yeah, Bournemouth easy victory here for me. 2-0.
Yeah, I can see something like that. The next one we come on to is Brentford against Aston Villa. Brentford, I've got them rock bottom of the table this year. I think they've got no hope. I don't think they did anything last week to change my mind. Aston Villa, I feel bad for because I think they've had a really good couple of years, but every transfer window, they've just got weaker and weaker, it feels like. And, you want to see them, similar to Newcastle and Palace last season, you want to see them kind of get something for this little era that they're in at the moment. So anyway, doubt they're going to do that in the Premier League as such, but let's see what they do elsewhere. But this is their second match of the season. And again, a game that Villa, I think, will look at after played Newcastle last week, is a game that they should get their account up and running for the season. This should be 3 points for Villa, you would think.
Yeah, just a well-oiled machine, aren't they? Bournemouth are just so disjointed now with what's sort of left, and it's not a Villa team for me to compete with.
It's all about getting Morgan Rogers off the leash, isn't it? It's all about getting him off the leash, getting Tielemans on the edge of the box. Is this a game McGinn can make a mark on? Let's hope so. And Watkins, it's been again back in the newspapers again, being linked with some other moves, some other teams, and again, that's only going to help anyone for him scoring goals. I don't think he's going to leave, but scoring goals is just going to help everything for everyone, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. It's just all about getting space for Rodgers, basically. McGinn's not going to run down the wing, is he necessarily? It's all about coming inside on his left foot and linking with Tielemans, Watkins and whatever. But yeah, to give Rodgers a bit of sort of 1v1 space is basically what this is kind of set up to do. Sort of bring the ball over to the right side and keep it over there for a bit, isolate Rodgers, and then, that big sort of Kamara Tielemans switch to get Rodgers sort of one-on-one or whoever he's sort of up against, maybe even a 2v1. He's capable to sort of penetrate that way. Can he feed Watkins in, or can he even shoot and score himself? So because they're not blessed with pace there really, that Villa team. They're athletic in midfield, but I wouldn't call it lightning quick pace. Watkins is obviously objectively quick, but Rodgers is the one where running with the ball, he's just so deceptively quick for a big guy. It's just ridiculous, and his dribbling is insane for his size. So yeah, again, I can't see how Brentford really trouble them here. That's not to say they can't go and score, a little consolation or something, but I think Villa outscore them.
And then we've got two promoted teams going head-to-head. We've got Burnley at home to Sunderland. Now, Sunderland, I think, have been probably, alongside Nottingham Forest, the most interesting teams to follow in the summer transfer window. They've been so busy. Sunderland have spent more money than anyone's ever seen before. It's been absolutely crazy. And they go away to Burnley. This is the way Burnley look to be lining up. Dubravka in goals, Kyle Walker and Hartman on the wings at wing back. That's kind of fun in its own way, isn't it? Cullen and Oguchukwu, you know what this is going to be like, don't you? Nice and deep. Hannibal, I've not really seen him in the Prem. Let's see how he works out. Marcus Edwards and Anthony on the wings get big names to make themselves this season, while Lyle Foster looking to lead the attack. Whereas with Sunderland, it looks like new signing Alderte is going to come in to start this game, with Sealt coming off injured last week. Otherwise, it's the exact same team that played against West Ham last week and won so convincingly. And I'm quite bullish on Sunderland, Harry. In my pre-season predictions, before a ball was kicked, I put them in 13th. And after watching them last week, let's see how they do over the next couple of matches. But Sunderland could be a top half team. They've just signed Mukiele. They might sign Lucimi as well. They might go and get another attacker. And I think Sunderland, against a lot of teams in the league, will keep a lot of clean sheets. I think defence. Robin Ross was brilliant last week. A hero of a keeper.
So good, isn't he?
Aye,
so
amazing.
Good. Yeah, he's a wicked shot stopper, and he's good with his feet as well, to be fair. But I think the biggest, the most sort of influential signing, as much as they've bought, legs in, they've bought youth in, I think Xhaka's just he's just a Rolls Royce, isn't he? As much as he's obviously getting on a bit, but that sort of, that leader in the middle of the park, it reminds me of Højbjerg going to Marseille, and how influential he probably is in the, I've just seen interviews and stuff, and how demanding he is in the locker room and stuff. And I just think you take Xhaka out of that team and it just feels like it just not capitulates, but he is the gem in the middle that keeps everything intact. I think remove him and it just looks a bit like, oh wow, they've signed some, some good
Guys.
players on paper. Yeah, and like they can run and they can do things, but I think Shaka's the one thing there that basically just like elevates everything 10, 15, 20%.
I make you quite right. Xhaka was he's like that kind of coach on the pitch. He's that guy that kind of leads the team. Even though there's all a lot of new faces here, they just really synergized last week. I thought very quickly. And Habib Diarra, this guy's going to score goals. This guy's going to get assists. He was one of the main things that kept them kind of firing. And I think with him, Siddiqui doing the bodyguard role on Xhaka. And Xhaka, by the way, Xhaka man-marked Paqueta out the game last week. Like,
I'm not
he went
surprised.
everywhere and bossed him, you know? So Xhaka, like, he's not just that controller guy that calls the shots. He's getting his hands dirty, you know, in more ways than
100%.
one.
Feels like a low-scoring game if I had to say.
Yeah, like a 1-0, 2-1, maybe a push if things open up a bit.
Definitely.
The next game we come to is Arsenal at home to Leeds. Now, again, all eyes on both these teams for different reasons. Arsenal fighting at the top of the table, Leeds one of the favourites to go back down. And Arsenal, I didn't actually see them last week. No, it was against Man United, wasn't it? It was just a very forgettable game. I did watch it. And yeah, well, anyway, they are what they are. They got that set piece goal, didn't they? Just as you would expect, Calafiore and all the rest of it. And Leeds looked. So I'll show you the Arsenal team. Same team as last week, I think, by all accounts. I don't think there's any change to that, unless I'm remembering it wrong. Oh, Timber for White is the only change that we get.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the sort of fully fledged Arsenal side that we're going to see in a few weeks. I think when all the signings sort of flushing and stuff, but surely this gives Leeds all sort of problems. You've got to think Gyökeres gets a goal or two here, if not more. And then obviously Saka, I don't even want to predict how many assists he's going to get.
Yeah, I think it's going to be good for him. And I think like this is a great game for Gyökeres to get going because all the talk of his level or whatever, he has played championship level opponents before, which Leeds aren't really too far removed from at this point, you know. So yeah, it could be a good game for him to open his account. I'm totally with you there. I think a big thing for Arsenal is the strength they've got on the bench. Having watched Leeds against Everton, I just don't see them getting shots away in this game. I think Dan James, we know the trick that he's going to run, Harry Boy. Just take that line and sprint with it.
Yep.
And maybe they start in the Mecca. Maybe they get a goal if they do that. But if they don't, like this Nonto doesn't beat anyone. I don't think he's Premier League quality. And although Tanaka's going to be really busy and catch the eye watching this game, and Stack, both of them looked really good last week. It's not enough, you know. It's just going to be attack versus defence for the whole game. I think Arsenal take this easily for me.
Yeah, 100%.
Crystal Palace are taking on Nottingham Forest, and if you've been paying attention to the news and how everything's been going over the summer, you'll know these two teams have been really at each other's throats in terms of who's qualifying for Europa Leagues and who's qualifying for Conference Leagues and all that kind of stuff around it. Nottingham Forest started buying Botafogo players so that other things would happen and domino effects and whatever. So yeah, no love lost for either one of them. Forest, the most impressive team in match day one for me, probably. This is how Palace line up. Eberici Eze now out the building, and it looks like Devaney is going to come into the starting lineup here. Otherwise, the team does kind of pick itself. And then Nottingham Forest, again, I don't think there's any changes at all from last week. I think it's the exact same team, isn't it? But this feels like goals galore to me. This one, Harry.
Yeah, kind of evenly matched. I do think the fact, obviously, Forest have had a week's rest and Palace played midweek. Mateta got their first ever goal in Europe, which was obviously a nice little touch there. But yeah, that does play, it does play a part. I know they won and stuff, which, maybe gets them over the line as far as, sort of mentality and just fitness or just wanting to get into this game and win it. But like, yeah, it's hard to see past Forest though, man. They're just, again, similar to like Villa, but in a more sort of upgraded way, let's call it, with the signings they've brought in. They've had like two proper wingers in Ndoye and Callum Hudson-Odoi, sorry. And like, Wood, everything he touches just turns to goals. Like I just, it's no frills, but it's just goals, and as much as probably Watkins is quicker than him and strong or whatever, but like it doesn't matter. Chris Wood just puts the ball in the back of the net and does what he's sort of supposed to do. And then the middle three is the most interesting for me, like Gibbs White in that free role, Elliot Anderson. Now I'm gonna say it here. I've been thinking it for a few weeks, and I know who Elliot Anderson reminds me of, like stylistically, like as I watch him like move. And he's obviously not as good as him, but he is the Geordie Steven Gerrard. I'm saying it now. I think he has very, very similar attributes, and he just like when I watch him play, he just looks like how Gerrard used to move, kind of quite stridey. With like the technique is almost exactly the same as far as his range of passing and stuff. Don't get me wrong, he's not Gerrard, but I'm telling you, like he's the closest thing right now I would say in England that I say we, I'm not English, but that they have to like a Gerrard, I would say, as far as can do everything.
Really ran the show last week, in centre mid, and obviously the assist is a bit of a highlight reel, isn't it? Moment, just taking it first time on a week in a bouncing half volley, and just zinging it into the path for them to run onto, and all the rest of it was brilliant. But yeah, he really went up my estimations last week in a big way. The Gerrard comparison's an interesting one. I'll kind of keep my eyes open on that. But yeah, I think this will probably be the difference on the day. I like Will Hughes, but he's 2 5 out of 10 for me. And Adam Wharton, we've all got a big opinion of, but I think Gibbs White just goes into such dangerous areas, is so strong. And his assist last week, he was just toying, absolutely toying with Brentford. Just like, I'm going to keep the ball, I'll spin, I'll duck you, and then I'll sling it in when I'm ready. And he's just got that ability there now, which is good for him. But yeah, I think Ishmael Assar, Daniel Munoz, Mitchell. I think Palace will. This is goals galore for me, Harry. I don't think any team's getting out of this with a clean sheet, one way or another. I'm going to
I
go
mean,
for
how
2 each
yeah.
on this one.
No, I completely agree. I agree on the Hughes sort of opinion.
The next game we're going to move on to is the Everton Brighton. Look at the Brighton team. They look to the lineup pretty much the same as last week. O'Reilly back on to start again. De Kuiper and Weaver out in the wide areas. Baleba still in the team. Van Hecke starts. Rutter through the middle. And Everton, if we look at them, Jack Grealish expected to start in the number 10 position. Alcaraz was my first time looking at him on Monday night. I didn't really think he was that good. Dewsbury Hall, but covered some amount of ground in the game. He was brilliant. He was everywhere. He was attacking midfield. He was in the engine room. He was great. But if you look at their back four, O'Brien and Garner, they did force O'Brien wide, and he did try and do some of this stuff, but it's obviously not his bag. Everton, I just feel like they're missing that little piece there. And against Brighton, who have got guys like Weaver and I don't know, I suppose De Kuiper's quite an attacking based player, isn't he? It'll be quite interesting. I think the wide areas will be a big part of how this game gets decided.
There's going to be the goal for Brighton really is to leave a lot of space for Mitoma and that Decipher sort of overlap there, because Weaver's not a right back but can obviously play there. He'll tuck in a lot and come in that sort of three CDMs effectively, allows Ayari to sort of bomb on. O'Reilly's basically got a bit of a free roll there. And then, yeah, obviously Minter and Matoma offer you a lot of width, and Rutter's rapid and athletic. He'll keep Tarkovsky and Keane very, very busy. So, yeah, I mean, the setup for me, like it's hard to see past Brighton like winning, but we just know how flaky they are from previous seasons. I just can't like see past Everton just sort of gritting it out type of thing. So like for me, it's really hard. I think if Everton can sort of stop them not scoring for a half, I'd honestly sway that towards an Everton victory / draw at that point. But if Brighton score early, I just can't see Everton getting back into the game there. They'll be too open, and I just think it's a massive mountain to climb.
Yeah, a game that could, I think, certainly go either way. The first goal will say a lot about the match. I think you're quite right there, Harry. Like it could be the first goal really does dictate the tempo of the match. Grealish, I think everyone's watching out for him if he is in number 10 to see free roll. Jack Grealish, can he come back and do something? But this guy Beto, I don't back him to score. Obviously, Ndai's good for it. Grealish could be good for it. You never know. And maybe from set pieces, any of the defenders could chip in. I just think Brighton have got a few more goals in their team. But everyone are quite strong defensively. Like you said there, I think the first goal really says a lot. If it doesn't come, obviously it's probably going to be a 0-0 draw. But depending on who gets it, we'll see how it shakes out. Second to last game we've got is Fulham at home at Man United, which is a game I think like this is where Man United maybe get their season up and running after the Arsenal game at the weekend there, where I think I think everyone I've heard talk about Man United from a Man United perspective were happy with how they finished the game without getting anything. So like away to Fulham, this is the time where Man United need to score some goals and get some points.
Yeah, it's time for that front three that they've obviously brought in this season to pay dividends. I know it's early on and they've got years to do that, but it would be encouraging, wouldn't it, from a Man United perspective to see some link up play, some goals and assists from those three. We know Bruno's going to bring, like that's a given, isn't it? Like we're not expecting anything less than what he sort of brings every week. But it's can the other three really pose a massive threat? Which I think they will. Like it's a wicked three really if you think about it. Two obviously have played in the Prem, loads of experience, and Sesko, with so much athletic ability, and you put him in front of goal, there's goals will happen. There will be misses, like every player misses. Haaland misses 5 big chances a game half the time. It's just nature of the beast. But if you can put Sesko in certain positions, like no one's catching him, similar to like that Ekitike sort of build where they're just gone long strides. You either clip him, he takes a pen or whatever, last man sort of red card or whatever, or he's one-on-one in goal. So on goal, sorry. So yeah, I really like the Cunha and Buemo because they're so adaptable. Like they can play anywhere in that sort of front line and drop deep. Obviously, one being right-footed, one being left, really nice balance. And then and I'm hardly mentioning Bruno, who's the heart of the team, right? So, but that doesn't mean to say they can walk over a Fulham team that have good players and have players that are proven. Iwobi was unbelievable last year, wasn't he? And really solid base, Berg and Lukic, and then solid enough back four, no frills. Obviously Wilson from set pieces and stuff has been really, really interesting, and Jimenez is proven. So it ain't a walk in the park, but I do fancy United here though with the amount of quality they have.
Yeah, Onana back in goals, so yeah, no clean sheet to be had this one. I think this is get Man United written all over it. Newcastle and Liverpool always has lots of goals in it. It's always an exciting game anyway. Never mind this whole Alexander Isak thing that you add into the mix. The Newcastle team is very predictable. They've not really got any rotation options to really exercise at the moment, and with a few injuries in defence and whatever, it kind of does all pick itself. I do think Barnes, Gordon, and Alanga are a team that a three anyway, that on the break, which is what Newcastle want to do, can get the job done. But I think it's going to be an uphill climb for them because Liverpool are just going to be really strong and really up for this. Wirtz has definitely got the ability to have an arrival type of match here at St James's Park. Ekitike has already opened up his account, obviously. But with the Curtis Jones probably coming into right back, it's maybe just tips it a wee bit, I think, for me, because Newcastle do rely a lot of dominating the middle of the pitch. And if Liverpool can kind of stop them from doing that, it might be quite good for them. A really tight game, as I say, always lots of goals in Newcastle v Liverpool. It's one of those kind of historic Premier League games, as it were. But yeah, with no Isak, you do feel that there's maybe some teeth taken out of the attack ever so slightly.
Livramento Salah will be an interesting little battle. I think that'll be where maybe a lot of the games won and lost. I think I think Gakpo's going to have Trippier on toast. Really, if we're talking sort of like athletically, he's just I'm not saying Trippier's not a good defender or anything, but I think it'll be tough to keep Gakpo like from coming inside there because he does that so well, so stridey. Obviously, Kirkez then on the outside. Elanga will do a lot of backtracking, or have to because of Kirkez. But yeah, Livramento and Salah will be the interesting one. I've got a funny feeling Livramento might keep him quiet. I say that now, and Salah will get a hat trick, won't he? But I don't know. I just fancy Livramento there to just keep up with Salah. He's a bigger guy. Obviously, can probably keep up with him from a pace perspective. Now, that's not to say Salah can't pop into situations where the ball just falls to him and he scores goals. Like, it just happens, right? That's just the nature of a world-class player. But I think one-on-one, I'd be surprised if Livramento gets done there, honestly. I really am. Really would be, sorry.
I'm kind of with you, by the way, because I can't remember where I seen this recently, but I was watching a game and they had a right-footed player on the left side. And see when this guy's cutting in, it's way easier for a right-footer to, like, deal with that.
Come into that. Yeah.
Because this person's not used to that in general, so it's like boxing the first time you go against a southpaw. It's like weird. It's that kind of thing, isn't it?
100%.
And then the frame, I'm kind of with you, Harry. It wouldn't be a shock, would it, for us anyway?
No, and I wouldn't be shocked. Like I said, I think Gakpo probably has Trippier. I do like Trippier, but I think Gakpo probably edges that sort of that interlock with like Vert 1-2s. I think it might be too much for him around there. Shah can't really move if we're being honest, and he'll have to look after Ekitike, and obviously Burn will help out. But yeah, I worry but I think the battle will be won and lost in that Salah Livramento left back situation.
That's an interesting one. Definitely keep your eyes open for that. And I say, I think this is like Newcastle's best hope is this kind of game state happens. And then can they get Barnes on the run? Can they get Gordon on the run? Can they get Alanga going into space? So there's definitely ways to go for both teams. But yeah, I think Liverpool probably just edge it. Do Liverpool get a clean sheet? Maybe they could. I don't know. I'm going to go with 2-0 Liverpool. Could be a wee game like that.
I think both teams will score, but I honestly don't know what way it goes. I really think Newcastle do end up getting a goal somehow, but I couldn't tell you who wins the game, genuinely.